Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 25th of February, now it's half past 12, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my channel in which I share latest updates on the news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There is quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. But before I start, let me once again emphasize how grateful I am for your time, attention and support. It truly does mean a lot to me, so thank you very much. Same time, if I may, guys, I will ask you, especially those of you that subscribe to my Patreon, to write me questions if you have one, so that I can answer to those questions on my first video for Patreon. In future, I will definitely try to make exclusive content, interesting exclusive content for Patreon, but right now it's just the beginning, so it will be very helpful if you write me here or on the Patreon. If you write me questions or maybe even ideas, what you will find interesting, and I will work on that. And yes, maybe I should also address yesterday's kind of backlash that we see on the comments and in the comment section under the update, yesterday's update. Some of the subscribers were unhappy because of my criticism towards Russian defense minister, first of all, and head of Russian general staff Shoigu and Gerasimov, and around 10 people even left. They unsubscribed, and yes, too bad. I mean, I feel sorry for them, because I am sad about it. I'm not happy when anybody leaves our community, but all I can say is that as I mentioned many times in my previous videos, I will be true to myself always, and when it comes to sharing my opinion, I will share my opinion, not some kind of propaganda, man. And if anybody don't like this, then there is plenty of choice really on internet, where you can go if you want to and watch or listen or read all day long pure propaganda of any side. I mean, west, east, just anybody. You won't see this on my channel. Here, only information that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and other platforms on the internet. And when it comes to my opinion, as I said, man, after all, even though I am quite self-critical, maybe even too self-critical sometimes, after all, I have a degree in journalism. I worked many years in best Georgian news agencies. I have experience not just in journalism, but in analytics field also, and probably my opinion does mean something because of my experience, at least because of my experience. And after all, I want to believe at least that majority of subscribers on my channel are people that want to hear independent voice, and that's what I can provide, basically. So I hope there will be no such situations no more, and we will respect each other's opinions, even if we strongly disagree with each other. And I hope there will be no such extreme measures to unsubscribe. I mean, why? For God's sake, what? But anyway, let's talk about news now, and I will start, of course, with the. At one point yesterday, you may find it interesting. At one point yesterday, even my wife called me, and my wife now is in Georgia. She had to go to Georgia because her grandma passed away months ago, and she went to Georgia, and it's already months that she is there. I am here with the kids, and I'm not just have to prepare these updates, man, and I have to find time not just for news, but I have to make sure that kids are ready for school. Kids, that I prepare food, and I have to do everything at home, and then many of us, my subscribers, majority of subscribers, all of us are grown up people, and probably you will agree with me that when women not at home, it's messy though, because we are not that good. We, I mean, men's are not that good to watch on stuff that women usually are taking care of. How should I say it? But I'm trying, and everything is okay. But in few days time my wife will come back, and yes, I will probably have more time to prepare content in a better way. But what I will want to say is that my wife even called me yesterday, and she told me that, what, I was forced to flee Georgia because of your journalism, and please now don't mess up and don't do anything that will force us to leave Russia now. And I try to calm her down, because I believe in Russia, man. I believe in Russia, and I believe that even though there are some questions about freedom of speech in Russia, in general, you are able to be critical. When your critic comes from a good place, man, I don't see it's a problem. And yes, maybe, not maybe, but I'm quite sure FSB, for example, probably knows about my channel already, and they know my critical point of view towards some officials, and they may probably even check my background. And yes, I mean, no one knock on my door, no one take me in prison or anything. Nothing happened. When criticism comes from a good place, I mean, you are free to criticize anybody, really, not just Shoigu or Gerasimov, man. Anybody, Putin, you can criticize Putin, and it's okay. It's okay, man. At some point, sometimes I do think that we may have more freedom of speech here in Russia that in some Western countries have citizens. Because, I mean, my channel is proving that we have at least some level of freedom of speech in Russia, right? And I can say, for example, on my channel, I can not just criticize Shoigu, Gerasimov, those are defense minister and head of general staff. I can criticize Putin. For example, right now I will criticize him that he is not firing Shoigu and Gerasimov, and I think he is making mistake. It's a critical word, isn't it? And trust me, believe me, nothing will happen, because that's my opinion. It not necessarily means that I am right. It's just my opinion. And I will, if it's necessary, I can give you my reasoning why I think that Putin should fire Shoigu and Gerasimov. But this, I don't want to talk about it right now. I did spend enough time yesterday to talk about that matter. But I want to say that I'm able to criticize not just leadership of Russia, political leadership of Russia, military leadership of Russia. I'm able to say even more. I can say that family is a unity of a man and a woman. And I can say there is only two genders, male and female. And it's okay to believe it or not. And I have some doubts that you will be able to say it in the many Western countries. without consequences. You will, you will say it, but there will be probably some consequences, isn't it? So yes, I mean, even though uh, there are some issues with freedom of speech in every country, man, but situation in Russia is not as bad as some of you may think if you are listening or watching and taking seriously Western propaganda, man. We are free in Russia, and as I said, we may be more free than citizens of Western states. Not everywhere, but in many states. So yes, sorry that I took so long to talk about this um matter, but yes, I mean news will don't go anywhere. Now let's talk about news. And I will start with this one. I just shared a few minutes ago on my Telegram channel that, according to even, and this is if I'm not mistaken, yes, Slavian Grad, I mean, big Russian Telegram channel, reporting that even Ukrainian sources now are admitting that settlements of Birhovka, Yahidna, and Dubovo Vasilyeva are completely under control of the PMC Wagner units. And let me show you that on the big map. Let me show you that on the big map. Uh, that's Bakhmut here. That's a Bakhmut, and as you can see, Birhovka is even by this pro-Ukrainian map is under Russian control. But when it comes to Yahidna and Dubova Vasilyeva, these settlements, according to this map, Ukrainian side are controlling this. But as you know, live map, makes updates with some delay, and I have no reason to do not trust Slaviangrad Telegram channel, which is saying that they probably check out some Ukrainian sources, and according to them, these settlements here are also under control of PMC Wagner units, which is quite significant development, really, because situation for Bakhmut garnison, with every such a step of Russian side, becoming more and more dreadful, really. And probably it's only a matter of time. I mean, few days, few weeks maximum, and Bakhmut will be fully encircled. Because now Russian side are like here, around here. And also inside Bakhmut, as you know, I did a report about it a few days ago, that fight is going on close to a city center. And all this area, north and east and south, are under Russian control, even if this map, pro-Ukrainian map, is not acknowledging this. So quite significant development. But when it comes to frontline overall, when it comes to general situation on the front line, we can probably say that it's kind of situation did reach kind of stalemate when no one side is able to have a breakthrough in any direction, and this situation will probably continue until one of the sides will conduct large-scale offensive operation. When it comes to Russia, after Putin's speech, you may notice that for the last few weeks, I had more and more doubts that Russia will conduct so-called winter offensive that was expected by so many, including me, by the way. I mean, I was also thinking that there will be some winter offensive, but it did not happen. And after Putin's speech before Federal Assembly, which took place on 21st of February, if I'm not mistaken. After that speech, I'm quite sure now that there will be no Russian large-scale offensive operation, not in the winter. It's only 1 week left from this winter, so they will be probably yet again, but I'm 90% sure that there will be no Russian winter offensive. There will be no Russian spring offensive, large-scale offensive. And the forces that Russia has accumulated in Belarus or in Bryansk, Kursk, and Belgorod regions, those forces probably are there for to conduct defensive operations if it's come to it. And now we may think that there is no threat in those directions, and there will be no need to conduct any defensive operations there. But yet again, man, no one knows what, for example, Washington and London will order to Warsaw. If they order them to introduce Polish forces openly to battlefield, then at least for some period of time, Russian side will be forced to conduct defensive operations, because Poland has around 150 to 150 military personnel, and the Russian side will need some time to grind down those units to take care of them. So yes, and when it comes to Ukrainian counteroffensive, let's say, there are more and more talks about spring offensive of Zelensky's Nazi regime. Even Biden just yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, spoke about it, that US will provide Ukraine with all necessary weapons to conduct a successful spring offensive and offensives in the summertime. And yes, I mean, when it comes to possible offensives from the Zelensky's regime, what can I say, man? I'm quite sure in a battle they will be unable to defeat Russian side. But if Shoigu and Gerasimov will order Russian forces to withdraw from this or that area, or regroup, and the rest of it, like they did order when it comes to Kherson region, or before that in Kharkov region. I mean, if Russian forces receive orders to withdraw from certain areas, then Zelensky's regime can say that they did conduct successful operation, even though they will take some territories without a single shot, like they did in Kherson region, for example, on the right bank of the Kherson. But if there will be no such orders from heads of Russian armed forces towards Russian units to withdraw from anywhere, then I just don't see how Zelensky's regime will be able to conduct any successful offensive operations. I mean, I just don't see it, man. And no matter how many weapons and what weapons West will provide to those Nazis. So that's my take on it. Let's continue now. And RIA Novosti is reporting here that according to officials of LPR, not official, this is military expert from LPR, former colonel of LPR forces. According to him, Russian artillery did manage to destroy a large column of Ukrainian armed forces, not entirely destroy, but at least 30% of large column was destroyed on the march when they were trying to regroup. So yes, one may say that why only 30%? Why not all? entire column was destroyed. But yet again, I'm not military expert. I know nothing about artillery's work, and yes, I can provide just information that I have. So yes, some huge column that was moving to reinforce one of the directions in Crimea front was partially destroyed, let's say that way. Let's continue. This is TASS news agency, and we have news here that according to Wall Street Journal, and TASS is writing based on an article in Wall Street Journal, Macron and Scholz did talk to Zelensky about necessity of start peace negotiations with the Russian side when Zelensky was in Europe just recently, a week ago. And this news even said that, Macron talked to Zelensky and remind him that even France and Germany did find it possible to have negotiations despite difficult relationships after Second World War, and that's an example how Ukraine can conduct itself in current situation. At some point, it does make sense, of course. At some point, all wars, one way or another, will end. All conflicts will end with the negotiations. That's how it happens always. But to be honest, I'm quite sure that Macron and Scholz has no say in this matter right now, because Zelensky is a puppet of Washington and London, and Washington and London will decide when Zelensky will agree on peace negotiations. And I can understand why France and Germany is wary, because longer this conflict will continue, more damage will be done to Europe, to France and Germany. And as you know, many companies, because of this sanctions war, many companies are leaving now European continent and moving the manufacturing plants to USA, because energy is much cheaper there, and all companies are oriented on profit, isn't it? That's a free market for you. And of course, Scholz and Macron, and groups that they are representing, basically, they want this conflict to end as soon as possible, probably, because it's already taken a year, and it seems like London and Washington don't even think for at least for this moment to order Zelensky to stop this conflict. And longer this fight will continue, more companies will leave Europe for USA, and more difficult situation will be for Europeans. I don't even see, to be honest, let's say in a year's time this conflict will end, or in 2 years' time. I don't know how long this will continue. One day it will end, isn't it? And then how European states gonna conduct themselves? How they gonna establish relationships with Russia, economical relationships included? How any Russian government, no matter who is president, Putin, Rogozin, whom in my opinion may be next president of Russia, or Medvedev, who also can be next president of Russia. No matter who is president here, how they can trust Europeans, European elites? How? It's just impossible. It will take decades, man, to rebuild trust between the sides, because right now, today, German tanks yet again are fighting Russia. And this is not some kind of fantasy, man. This is reality that we are living in. Right now, German tanks are on Ukrainian soil and are in preparation to kill Russians, like Germans did in Second World War. That's how bad situation is, you know. And to be honest, if it was up to me, I will cut off all ties with Western elites. I will cut off diplomatic ties, economical ties, just all ties, man, because they cannot be trusted. And it will take at least like 10, 20, 30 decades, and then we may talk again. But now, how you can trust single word of Western elites? You can't. So yes, because of their own interests, Macron and Scholz may did talk to Zelensky about peace negotiations, but as I said, man, they have no say in this conflict. They are, puppets of Anglo-Saxons, basically, elites of Anglo-Saxons, and they are not in much better position than Zelensky is. They all receive orders from Washington and London. Isn't it true? Let's be honest, man. They all are puppets in Europe, man. All those so-called elites, man. They are just puppets, man. And London and Washington are ruling over them. They are bosses, man. Not these ones, man. Who the hell is Macron or Scholz, man? I mean, just the dogs, man. Let's continue. This is RIA Novosti. Not even dogs, man. I mean, fucking pigs. That's what they are. So let's continue. This is RIA Novosti. Okay. This is continuation of this story about Transnistria. As you know, Moldavian defense minister had stated yesterday that they see no reasons to believe that the Ukrainian side are preparing to conduct any offensive operation in direction of Transnistria, so they denied any involvement in any provocation, side of Moldova. And yesterday Zelensky also stated that they have no plans to attack Transnistria. So maybe Russian Defense Ministry was exaggerating, maybe, but it seems like so many days passed since they first time stated that they are, Zelensky's regime is planning to conduct some provocation, but we don't see any provocation, at least for now. And maybe it was some error in intelligence. I don't know. Or maybe these statements was made in terms of prevent anything like that to happen in the future. I don't know, but for now it seems like everything is calm in the direction of Transnistria, even though Russian Foreign Ministry is saying that USA, where is that news? So yes, Russian Foreign Ministry stated that USA and NATO, together with Zelensky's regime, should be very careful, because if in direction of Transnistria, because if Russian peacekeepers will be under any threat, Russia will take it as an act of war and as attack on Russia, and there will be consequences for that. as I said, for now at least, nothing is happening in this direction, and I hope that it will stay this way, because for the last 2 decades, Moldova and Transnistria did manage to establish some kind of relationships between each other. There is a free movement in and out, and people are just living their lives, and it will be just horrible if war come to this place again. So I hope Zelensky's regime will don't even think to destroy peace in this area. But time will tell. Time will tell. Let's continue. Let's continue. This is TASS News Agency. How long this video is already? 30 minutes. Come on, I will try to, I will go just through headlines, So this is TASS News Agency. It said that Biden is absolutely Biden is saying in absolute terms that there is no chance that U.S. will deliver any F-16s to Ukraine now or in foreseeable future. So he did repeat himself, because, as you know, Western so-called elites has had control over the many or all media outlets in the West. The U.S. is not exception, and probably some groups inside of U.S. elites are pushing more and more harder to transfer to Ukraine long-range weapons, including missiles and jet fighters. And that's why Biden has been asked repeatedly many times in previous weeks, will he approve to F-16s to be sent to Ukraine? Will he approve it? And he is repeating itself time after time that there will be no F-16s for Ukraine, at least for now and foreseeable future. And that's a right decision, because probably Biden has at least one or two some normal advisors, and they are telling him that it's just impossible now. Even if they want to, it's impossible now to send F-16s, because these planes cannot be operated from Ukraine. It's just impossible, because there is no specialists in Ukraine, not just pilots, but specialists to do some maintenance on those planes. And that means that when eventually Western jet fighters will be introduced to the battlefield, they will be sent to Romania most likely and Poland, and they will operate from these countries. Maybe Slovakia too, but they will operate from these countries, because Ukraine just has no infrastructure, has no specialists, has no pilots to do anything with those F-16s or Eurofighters or Rafales that West has promised in one sense or another. But those planes will definitely end up on the battlefield. They will show up. I have no doubts about it. It will be like with the tanks, man. Now we know for sure as a fact that there is German tanks in Ukraine, right? German-made battle tanks. Those ones are Polish tanks. Poland did transfer Leopard 2s yesterday to Ukraine. But they are German-made battle tanks, and eventually German tanks also will end up in Ukraine. And similar story will be with the jet fighters. They will be introduced, but that will happen when Poland will establish this so-called new alliance or anti-Russian alliance that they are trying to build now, so that they can conduct operations not under the umbrella of NATO, but under the umbrella of that new grouping, new alliance that they are hoping to build. And once that happens, when they announce that there is some alliance with Poland, Baltic states, and Romania most likely, yes, then we will see probably that Western, US will send its jet fighters, and British government will, UK government will also send probably their fighters, because with fighters they will send pilots and maintenance crew, and they will be based on Poland. They will be based on Romania, most likely, maybe Slovakia here, but not in Ukraine, man. Not in Ukraine. And definitely West will try to establish some kind of no-fly zone, at least on the central and western parts of Ukraine. And we may see kind of how Ukraine will be divided around the center here. That will most likely happen. But yet again, it will take time. It may happen in 5-6 months time, or maybe more. Now let's see. Next news is RIA Novosti here. We have statement from Biden, who said that despite Western support, Ukraine has to make up its own mind when to. I mean, this is just talk, of course, man. Biden is saying that it's up to Kiev, Zelensky's regime, to decide when this conflict will end. And this is not true, of course. We all know that Biden can order Zelensky right now to stop this conflict, right now, any second, any day. But that's a diplomatic way to say that, it's not time yet. We are not ready yet to finish this conflict. And that's why he said that it's up to Zelensky to decide when this conflict will end, and Washington will not force to make any decision. This is lie, basically. And he also said that Crimea probably will not come under control of Ukraine, at least for now. And he thinks it will take some time for Ukraine to establish control over the Crimea, which is also like Crimea never will be part of Ukraine. Let's be serious about it. But and Biden knows this. Biden and his administration know this very well. But that's statements that are made just for public, basically. These kind of statements really means just nothing. Let's continue. This is a funny story about how uneducated Zelensky really is, and not just Zelensky, man. Take any puppet leader in the Ukraine or in the Western world, man. Their IQ probably are on the level of, I don't know, man, 50, 60, maybe a little more. And because they are totally uneducated, most of them, and you can see it when they are making some statements, man. You can see they are officials, we can talk like we like, like we want, because we are not officials. We just represent ourselves, and we can joke around and say some crazy stuff, and it's okay. But when it comes to officials, it's not okay to say anything that you want, man, because you are representing state at the moment, right? But when you listen to statements that are, so you are serious. When you are official, you must be serious. And when you watch what kind of statements Western so-called elites are making, I mean, it's clear that they have some issues with education. And I'm not saying that I'm kind of genius, man. No, of course not. But I'm not official, for God's sake, and I will never be official. And I'm quite sure I have better education than most of the Western elites have, maybe even all together, because I have true education. I did not pay for my degree. I did not pay single penny for my degree. I did not buy my degree like most of them did. I earned my degree. And this news just shows how truly uneducated those so-called elites are, because Zelensky has no idea that Russia and USA has a border. he was making some statements yesterday, and he said that if USA had a border with Russia, they will know something, But it will be better if you knew something, really, Zelensky, because US does have a border with Russia. Alaska, US state, is bordering Russia, isn't it? Oh, Russia bordering USA. On on Alaska. Alaska was part of Russia, probably guys, long time ago. But then it was given for some strange reasons to USA. It was sold basically, which is crazy, but that's historic fact. So yes, Russia does have a border with US, and there is Bering Strait between Russia and USA. But Zelensky don't know about it because he just don't have education. He's a clown, man. He was acting, entire his life, adult life, and he was making some movies and trying to be funny man, and he did succeed in this. But when it comes to politicians should have qualification, man. Politicians should have education, isn't it? Proper education, for God's sake. And they don't. Because you cannot say this kind of stuff, by mistake. It's like 2 plus 2, You cannot say 2 plus 2, it's like 11 by mistake. I did not think, I didn't remember. No, man. It's easy. When you know, it's easy. And he just don't know nothing, really. He can act. He's actor and he's acting. That's yes. He can, but when it comes to some serious stuff, man, he's just stupid as a pig, man. Let's continue. Kommersant newspaper is reporting here that Jake Sullivan stated that US has no reasons to believe that Russia is preparing to conduct some to use tactical nuclear weapons. Let me translate it for you. A US administration is not afraid that Russia might use nuclear weapons. That was announced, that was stated by assistant of the President of the United States for National Security, Jake Sullivan, at a close meeting with experts, writes Politico. So yes, that's a Politico. This Kommersant article is based on Politico's information that US, according to Sullivan, don't really believe that Russia will use nuclear weapons. We are talking about tactical nuclear weapons, probably, in this case, because it's about Ukraine. And I'm not sure that this is good for, let's say, Russia. Not Russia, but I don't think this is good for Russian leadership if opponent side is sure that you will do or you will don't do anything. And why White House is so sure that Russia will not use tactical nuclear weapons? They have insiders in Russian government. They have insiders in Putin's inner circle. How they know? Question is logical, isn't it? How they know that that Putin will right now not ordering to strike some large Ukrainian formations with the tactical nuclear weapons? How he possibly can know this, Sullivan, man? Only way if they have the assets in Russian government, isn't it? And that's why I'm not really happy with work of Russian counterintelligence service, because come on, man. Why we are not seeing that agents of USA or Great Britain or France or Germany was caught? I mean, why? They probably have some assets in Russia, isn't it? Why counterintelligence not catching them on at least monthly basis, man? I don't know. I don't know, but it's definitely not good when your enemy knows for sure what you will do or what you will not. It's not good. Your enemy should always be afraid that you may do something that they are not expecting. Your enemy should always be afraid of your actions. And I don't like when US officials are saying that, we are sure that they will do this and they will do that. How you can know it, man? Only if you have assets in Russian government and in a close circle of Putin himself, isn't it? So this is Commerçant. And one may say that they are listening phones and stuff, but come on, man, this kind of stuff, no one talks on the phone, right? And if Putin wants to talk about possibility of nuclear strike, he will call people that are necessary and he will talk to them directly, or they will use some means that cannot be tracked by US or any other intelligence. They are not using iPhones, for God's sake, to talk about some classified matters, right? At least I hope so. Let's talk about this news now, and this is about economy. US has put some high tariffs on Russian exports to USA on amount of 2.8 billion, which means that Russian export will become more expensive for US customers. I don't really understand why White House does this kind of stuff, because if US companies had the opportunity to buy somewhere else, whatever they are buying from Russia, they will do it by now. But if they are still buying from Russia, that means that there is not that much choice on the market, isn't it? And now they will be forced to pay for Russian stuff even more, much more, much higher. And eventually customers are that will pay even higher, right? So this sanctions war and tariffs and stuff, man, this is, counterproductive. Remember what Trump was doing with China. He was putting tariffs on everything. And what happened? Prices went up. US was buying from China almost everything and still buying from China almost everything. But now ordinary US citizens are paying way more than before. That's the result of these sanctions and tariffs and the rest of it, man. And it's even illegal. What Biden does is it's illegal under the World Trade Organization's rules. They cannot put tariffs like they want, man. All meaning of those World Trade Organization was that any issues that countries have in terms of economical and trade relationships should be resolved there by, using this institution as a World Trade Organization. But it's obvious now that this structure, this institution is not working, or it's working only for USA or for the West. And why should Russia remain in that organization anymore, really? It's a question. Because look what they are doing, man. They are sanctioning everything and everybody. yesterday, let me see another news. Come on, man. Yesterday, EU made a decision about 10th package of sanctions against Russia. I cannot find that news, but oh, that's it, man. Just look at it. Kommersant news paper is writing that EU officials make up their mind about the 10th package of sanctions, and in this package of sanctions, they will sanction mainly just citizens of Russia that they did not like, because they already sanctioned almost everything. They will sanction Russian export products. So yet again, who will pay for it? Ordinary citizens of EU member states, right? And they will sanction Russian citizens that are working in field of news, not just in economical field, but also in field of news, because nowadays they are calling everyone propagandist, and any news from Russia they are calling as misinformation and fake news. It's true, isn't it? It's so level of craziness in the West in regards of Western elites, and their propaganda are in such a level that nowadays, if you say, let's say, London is a capital of UK, they may, I don't know, change capital's name. Otherwise, I mean, it seems like if they agree with me, they are like Russian propagandists, because I mean, come on, how can I agree with me? I'm saying that London is capital of UK, and there's no way you can agree with me. Otherwise, you are Russian propagandists. What I want to say by this example, maybe this is not best example, but what I want to say is that even when it comes to simple Truman, if it's said by anybody from Russian side, West will react on it like, oh, this is Russian propaganda, man. This is Russian propaganda. That's how crazy they are, really. Anything you say, they will say this is Russian propaganda. So that's a way to trick them, That what Russians say, London is the capital of UK, man. That's Russian propaganda, man. We cannot agree with that. So let's make York or Newcastle new capital of UK. That will be funny, man. Then we will say Newcastle is the capital of UK, and then let's play this game, though. Come on, man. As I said, man, the sad thing is that we can laugh at Western elites, man, as much as we like, but eventually, because of those sanctions and those craziness that is happening because of those elites, man, who gonna pay? We gonna pay, ordinary peoples, ordinary citizens. And it's true everywhere. We will pay here in Russia. You will pay in your countries, in Europe or in US or in Australia, or eventually it's always us that pays for craziness of elites, man. Let's continue. Oh, yet again about sanctions, and this time Biden did sign up another package of tariffs on Russian aluminium, which will become much expensive for US customers. And yet again, who buys Russian aluminium in USA? Companies that are producing cars, planes, lemonade, how you say lemonade, Coca-Cola and rest of it, man. They are putting the stuff in cans, right? That's aluminium also. So all those stuff that uses aluminium gonna up gonna become more expensive, and eventually, yet again, ordinary citizens will pay for it. That's how it works. Let's continue. We have information here that Kazakhstan is supporting Chinese proposal that about political, about it was not peace proposal as I understand. Yesterday, if you remember, I did talk about a Chinese document with 12 points how to deal with Ukrainian conflict, but that was not exactly the peace proposal, as I understand. It was something else. But and I did not take it seriously because if you remember, in very first stage in document, it was said that parties should respect territorial integrity and rest of it, and which means that there will be no agreement straight away between the sides, because Ukraine, Zelensky's regime is saying that all those territories are Ukraine, including Crimea, Donbass, Zaporozhye, and Kherson regions, and Russia is saying that no, these territories are part of Russia, and that even the Russian constitution is now saying that it's part of Russia. So there will be no disagreement on that point, and the rest of it is just But we have a statement from Kazakhstan that Kazakhstan does support this Chinese proposal, whatever that is. And, I can understand this because many see Chinese current government, not Chinese, but Kazakhstan's current government as at least, I don't want to say that they are controlled by China, but they are under strong influence of China, I believe. So Kazakhstan is becoming more and more like Chinese province, really. And this will continue, I'm quite sure. This will continue. Province is a too strong word, but Chinese influence in Kazakhstan will grow year by year very strongly. I'm absolutely sure about this. Yes, Canada also put some new sanctions on Russia, and yes, I mean, come on, Canada, and Japan also. So just look at it, man. It's like a game for them, Every new day they are beginning the days thinking, what kind of sanctions we can put on Russia now. And then they are coming up with something, Let's sanction Russian aluminum. Let's sanction Russian microphones, microphones that are made by Russian companies. Let's sanction, I don't know, man. Eventually, they will end up sanctioning air that comes to west from Russia, man. Crazy, though, crazy. This is interesting, but this video is too long, man. It's 58 minutes already. I should do two videos, man, in the morning and in the afternoon, and divide news between the two. But okay, I will start doing that from Monday, maybe. And we have Bloomberg here, Bloomberg News Agency, which is saying that despite Western attempts to influence Russian oil exports, and despite Western price cap on Russian oil, Moscow and Russian energy companies did manage to sell oil on much higher price than $60. And we have even numbers here. Ports that are on Baltic Sea, Russian ports, they did, and this is data from customs, Russian customs service. So from Baltic ports, oil was exported under 59.86. Here we can see price cap has some influence. Port cities in the Black Sea, customs there, fixing 63.34 price for barrel of oil. Ports on the Pacific Ocean are fixing $82.24 for barrel of oil. Ports on the north, Ледовитый океан. How you say it in English, man? Just a sec. Arctic Ocean, yeah, man. Ports on the north, on Arctic Ocean. How could I forget? It's Arctic Ocean. But yet again, English not my first language, and not second, and not third. So yeah, sorry when I'm, when I'm losing time, and when I'm too slow to construct sentences. Time to time, I find it hard to find the right sentence, and I may use some, and sentence itself may sound quite crazy. But that's because, as I said, man, I'm trying to regain my English that I used to have like 20 years ago. So yes, what I was talking about, man, I was talking about those prices, да? So ports from Arctic Sea, they are, customs services are fixing price of oil on the level of 79.31. On the Druzhba pipeline, price are 62. Even on Druzhba pipeline, which exports, which pumps oil to Europe, even there, price is $62.98 for barrel. And the oil pipeline to China, their price, according to customs, were 80.91. So just look at it, man. Russia is basically making quite a good amount of money despite those Western price caps. And you know what is happening? Of course, Russia now selling oil to Turkish companies, to Chinese companies, to Indian companies. And those companies then re-exporting that same oil to Europe. But prices, in price, difference is quite huge, isn't it? So that's why a few days ago I did share with you information that on those sanctions, particularly, especially on the energy sector, EU lost around $1 trillion, euros, sorry. And it's understandable. It's understandable because these sanctions, they are harming not just Russia, and they do, of course, harm Russia. Right? No one is happy here because of those sanctions. But those sanctions also harm Europe and the Western world also. So it is what it is. And yet again about sanctions, this information that 80% of Russian banking sector is under US sanctions. And yes, I know this. That's why I had to ask my relatives in Georgia to create PayPal for me, so that if anyone will think about it, can then donate to the channel. And my relative is operating that PayPal wallet for me, because it's impossible to, because of those sanctions, man. What I did, how did I deserve this? For example, when they are saying, they don't want to harm ordinary people, they want to harm governments. That's what they are saying, isn't it? So-called elites in the West. So let them answer to me. How I deserve sanctions. Why am I sanctioned? I cannot use banking system freely. Why? Who gives those Western elites right to sanction me? Who are they? But you know, it is what it is, man. Let me update front page of this TASS news agency. Maybe some new information. Yes, latest one is the statement from Medvedev. As I said, Medvedev is very active lately, very active, and this time I will not go in details, but from headline, you can say that he is talking about Russian military-industrial complex, and he said that Russia not just increased production of weapons and ammunition, but Russia also managed to learn about Western weapons quite a lot, and what will be useful probably will be incorporated in Russian weaponry in the future, which is, I mean, logical. So yes, this is it. This is it for now. Sorry that video is so long, man. It's hour and 6 minutes now. Hour and 7 minutes will be. Yes, sorry about that. I should divide this video on two parts, but yet again, I will start do it from Monday. I will make one video in the morning, at least before I find a job. When I find a job, then it depends what kind of job I will have. If it's in journalism, I may be able to make 2 videos a day. I will be happy if I will be able to make 1 video a day, because when you're working, man, it's becoming quite hard because you are tired and this and that, and you probably understand me. But before I find job, before I will try to make 2 videos, like 15, 20, 30 minutes each, in the morning and in the afternoon. That will be better, probably. So yes, sorry that this video is so long, but yes, I hope you find news interesting, at least. So yes, have a nice day, have a nice weekend, everybody, and this is it for now. Take care.